Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the episode in the series. You know what to do if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And I am so excited today to have Justin Hawkins of The Darkness, who are back with a brand new record called Motorheart. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It is a pleasure to have you on here. And first off, let me tell you how much fun, as always, but that I've had to listening to this new album. This is fantastic.
Cool. They sent you the link then. Everything went smoothly.
Yeah, I've had the link. I've been living with it for the weekend.
Oh, cool. So what's your favorite song?
Oh, my favorite song. I'll get into both of those in the interview, but I'll go ahead and preface it by saying probably the title track and I've got it written down here, "Speed of the Nighttime."
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, 2 different things. But I want to start a little bit before it because I don't know if you felt like you were getting into this record any quicker than you would have before, but of course, you all have put out another excellent record just a couple years ago called "Easter is Canceled," and the rug kind of got pulled out from everybody in the world to tour it.
Yep.
How quick did that get you to start on the next batch? Did that push it a little bit faster for you all?
Well, when the rug pull happened halfway through a tour of Australia, and we also had 6 weeks planned in the States, to include some festivals and summery stuff in 2020. So I think it was when that happened. I'm on my own. I'm on my own here in Switzerland, so there's nothing else for me to do except work and create music, and so I was just desperate to work again. I think it did. I think it made it go quicker, but in the end, the process is so arduous and always long. And in fact, because of the pandemic and also because of Brexit, which is something that we have to endure in the UK as well, it made the lead-in time for manufacturing a record much longer. So whilst we were ahead of the game, now it's just normal. It's like more or less every 2 years we do an album, we go around the world. And I suppose with the additional kind of manufacturing time that you need, it's gone back to normal. It probably didn't come. It's not going to come out any quicker than it normally would have, I think. But it was finished much ahead of the game.
Right. You mentioned Brexit in there. It made me think that record "Easter is Canceled." It did seem, at least to me as a listener, to speak to the moment that was happening globally, especially politically. Those moments would find, as I heard them in the songs. There was plenty of that to write about this time around, but I guess I didn't get the same sensation when I listened to Motorheart. Did you feel like you wanted to get this isn't what I would call the pandemic record,
If anything, the last one was the pre-pandemic record was the one that would sit nicely with this climate, I think. There's one line in the title track on "Easter is Cancelled" where I said, spreading disease so they can sell the cure.
Right.
And then it all kicked off. It was a little bit prophetic in some way. I mean, not that I think that's what's happening for a second, but it was interesting how you could sort of interpret it like that. This one was, we were all, like my bandmates were all with their families, girlfriends, whatever, and I wasn't really. So I was so desperate to work. I just wanted to make stuff, and I went through a stage of writing all these really sad songs, and then by the time they were ready to do stuff, I was like, out of that, I was had enough of that now. Let's make a fun record. So for the first few months, I was writing stuff, and then they weren't. And then when we started writing things together, I was really in the mood for making something uplifting, and just wanted to do an album that wasn't of the time, maybe something a bit more timeless, something that you wouldn't be able to hear me singing through a COVID mask or talking about anything sad or despairing or nothing that to allude to the uncertainty and the suffering. And it was just we wanted to have some fun, I think, by the time we got around to doing stuff.
So you were able to exercise all of that sort of privately before the album. That's helpful, I guess.
Yeah. I wrote a load of songs, but that's what I do, a Patreon. So those things that have no home on Darkness Records, I just made it available for my patrons.
Which,
who
yeah,
they've
you
supported me
you stay.
throughout the crisis. Really, it's been great.
Yeah, I was about to say you stay really busy on that. And I feel like I need to become a member because I feel like I am missing so many things. And I guess I'm not meaning to give you the complete plug here, but what all are you doing on here? Because it does seem like you're having so much fun.
Yeah, I do loads of stuff. I mean, when my patrons get things like exercise videos, I interview other top celebrities, and I do podcasts, and probably a bit like what you're up to, really, and but behind a paywall, so I can say some really outrageous things and more or less get away with it 9 times out of 10. And it's been great because I think it's really enhanced my relationship with the audience, because it's all Darkness fans that do it, and it's like a companion thing to the Darkness experience, and also it's just a great way to get to know everybody, really.
Yeah. Well, it looks like I guess an extra fun little outlets, creative or whatever. But and I
Yeah,
think a lot of artists have benefited from those kind of outlets too, especially Patreon. But getting to do those, it just adds, I don't know, so much more depth in a way that we didn't have growing up. That kind of, I guess, our fan club
yeah.
was just right
I
into the.
used to, I used to be really sort of I used to long for those days when there was mystique, and you'd have a badge and a sticker and all those, what you're talking about, the old fashioned sort of fan club experience. And like maybe one day you get to meet your heroes, but it isn't like that anymore. The mystique element of it, that's long vanished, and there's no point in pining for something that you can't have. Also, once the horse is bolted, there's not much point in closing the stable door. You might as well leave it open. So I just think it is a different time. um and there's an expectation, and I think if you do it correctly, it can engender this sort of spirit of ownership, like that people really feel like they're part of something. I mean, I know it's probably a parasocial relationship and not 100% real, but it is reciprocal in a thing like a Patreon or in a VIP experience where you're actually conversing with the people who are your audience. I don't think it should extend to the point where you have focus groups from that group telling you what they like about your music, because it should still be art, but everything around it that's a case of engaging your audience. But I mean, obviously the core of it has to remain one way.
Right.
Otherwise, that's when you lose sight of it, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the mystique and having that gone, because for some artists, no matter how much, like even my favorite artists, that I become friends with or whatever, like once I see the music videos, once I hear the album, there's still, like the good ones, there's still some of that there that exists. And maybe it's just natural. Like when I listen, I'll bring it around into the record we're talking about right here. Like at the beginning, like welcome to Glasgow. I feel like I have to say it like that.
Welcome to Glasgow. You did it perfect.
but like I don't know if you would call that like a use of character, but within your music, like there still is this world that you create, that still allows for the mystic part of it, but just for this sort of separation from reality. Do you write specifically sort of, I don't know, do you write with characters in mind?
Yeah, this album I was it's a collection of songs about disappointing relationships. So it's a character that's based, I've used myself as a lot of the inspiration for it, but there is some bits where, like, I'm aware that I'm a dumbass in certain respects, and I know how stupid I've been and where my blind spots and shortcomings are. But this character that I'm writing from hasn't recognized that thing. So it's almost celebrating the things that you can't change. The behavior that you're not in control of is sort of defines you, and the things that you try and hide about yourself. It's really fun to sing about sometimes, but it is a character because you're sort of you're accenting stuff. I mean, on this particular album, I just wanted to say, this is why I'm an idiot. Whereas before, on the last album, I was like, well, this is why I'm sad about everything. But this one is like, this is why I'm an idiot.
The writing allows you to get away with the parts of you that you wouldn't normally want to project in real life. Yeah,
and parade them and make fun of them. And somebody once told me that I would never be successful because the part of the thing of being success is that you have to allow other people to make fun of you and take the piss out of you. I mean, if you do it yourself, then you're taking that opportunity away from certain parts of your audience or reviewers or anything. So, like the fact that I was able to do that, they thought that would stop me from being successful. Maybe it has, but it's not going to stop me from doing it. It's still, I think it's a really great thing to tap into. It's really, some people call it self-deprecating, but it's or it's not as, it's more like self-sabotage, really. Because there's no fun. There's no point in being successful if you have to do that at the expense of something real. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It doesn't mean anything if you're just pretending to be someone else.
Well, I mean, it seems, I don't know, maybe I'm naive when I say this, but if it's a great song, what's going on behind the scenes might not mean anything. You write great songs.
It's important to me because you have to sort of, when you probably restore an old car or something like that, what's happening inside is really important to the person that's done that, and they're really proud of it. They can hear it when you put your foot down. It's like that for songwriters, I think, especially lyrically. The thing that drives me mad is when people don't write lyrics, don't put any thought into their lyrics. I mean, even if something's stupid, it has to be stupid for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, not everything has to be Byron,
right?
But it has to not be shit, and that's important to me.
Well, I guess I was commenting on really the person who said you wouldn't be famous because you were doing that. Like I feel like whatever your talent is, for all the talents that you have, like you write these great songs. Like, so regardless if you were being self-deprecating, your songs stand on their own.
Right.
It's a long way to pay you a compliment. Yeah.
I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. I enjoyed that. Once it went in, I was really enjoying that compliment.
So let's wrap around then to the title track. So you have a sex robot named Motorheart. How does that fit into the story?
Okay, well, it shouldn't really be the title track. I think it's because it's the sort of culmination of all the disappointing relationships. Glasgow is just like a beautiful tribute to our favourite city. It's kind of intended as an introductory thing, saying, "Look, here we are. We're awesome. You're awesome. It's nice to be here." Then from that point on, it's all like relationships that have gone disastrously wrong. They've always gone wrong for the same reason. So in desperation, the character commissions the building or buys a sex robot, but soon the same sort of relationship troubles manifest themselves in that relationship with the robot. And still, at no point does the main character say, "Well, actually, maybe it's my fault." He just refuses. So yeah, I think it's just about belligerence, emotional belligerence, which is a good quality to have, especially in a pandemic.
Emotional belligerence. I was thinking of when I was listening to that song, when I was listening to and learning about a sex robot named Motorheart, how cable television when I was growing up did a lot for me too, but how much I learned about sex, for better or worse, from rock and roll. And this, I feel like this is, sort of one of those moments, like
maybe not the nuts and bolts of it, if you'll pardon me.
Right.
Double. But it doesn't go into too much detail about how the intimacy works. But I think it's, but I think there's an underlying misogyny in all of the, especially Motorheart. I'm pretty surprised I haven't been cancelled for it, to be honest, because it's pretty outrageous. Some of the things that the main character bloke's saying, but really it's illustrating how much of a twat he is, I think.
Right, it's character again. What you can get away with as a character, then when it's not yourself.
Method acting, darling.
With Jesse's Girl, I'm obviously going to ask the obvious question, because as I went back through the internet and was just reading all the reviewers to see if anyone had said it, everyone still says the same thing. Is it connected to Jesse's Girl? Jesse's Girl. I mean, it's the obvious question there.
Not really, because I think it was just, I mean, obviously I'm nodding towards it, but only in the title, really, and just because it made me laugh to sort of say to the guys, "Look, I want to call it this," and then to get a laugh back was enough for me to sort of chase the concept down. But I think Jussy's Girl is it's not about stealing somebody else's girlfriend. It's more about if you look at the lyrics, basically he's saying all of the sort of predictions about how the relationship plays out are to do with how he's going to feel. You know, and then at the end, the game's given away when it says, if you don't want to be Jussy's girl, have you got a friend who looks just like you but maybe isn't as fussy and wants to be with Jussy? So it's kind of like, it's not about anybody else, it's about me again, you know. So it's a sort of not a malignant narcissist, but some kind of narcissism going on.
Yeah. No, I wrote that down. He's never saying, "I wish you were mine." Like that does become really hilariously obvious in the whole thing.
Yeah, it's more like, it's just you. I wish you or someone a lot like you could be like associated with me in some way. It's really loose.
So as you point out in the press release too, like you say, it's got a great guitar solo and a helicopter.
A helicopter is 3 times in it, I think.
Why? Why is there there's a helicopter in it?
I think it's because when I was listening to it, I was thinking, well, this reminds me, like the opening riff sort of reminded me a bit of Phil Collins, Philip Bailey. Then it reminded me of Billy Ocean a little bit. But never really sounded like any of those things. But when you think back to those, like especially Easy Lover, you think, oh yeah, there's definitely a helicopter, but there isn't. When you actually listen to the track, there isn't a helicopter there. Maybe it was in the video or something, but just something about it suggests helicopter. And I was thinking, wow, it needs a helicopter, doesn't it? And I always think that when a helicopter sort of rises over the track because the track's fading out, it sounds like the band's leaving you with that thought. Fuck knows why he's in the solo as well. Maybe just because it's a bit dramatic. It's actually a combination of a probably a Bell. What's it called? Bell 47, or it's called one that's often chartered for looking at New York from above. But it's also got a police helicopter in there, which is a bit more powerful. So maybe he's in a helicopter looking for the girl.
Okay. Look at that.
I don't know. He might be. I just literally that just occurred to me. I don't know.
I can tell that just occurred.
I don't know. I don't know why there's a helicopter in there.
Because right? Why not? Right. That's I'll hit on the solos too. Really, the solos as a whole too, because that's one of the really fun things about what you do. Songs, lyrics, worlds, solos.
Yeah.
How much of those solos are thought out, like composed, and how? Is there one way or the other that you lean towards, like, oh, I can think out a solo like I think out lyrics, or is it really just feeling and let's catch the best take?
It's feeling and catch the best take, and then I usually have a few passes, and then when something pops out that sounds good, I'll hit that again. It really just feel it out, just play it a few times, like hundreds of times, and whatever has survived that process is what you end up with.
Yeah.
But I think if you do it enough, you don't end up treading water anywhere. That's what you don't want. The really iconic solos, you can tell they've been felt out and planned to a degree. So we try and do that wherever possible. Me and my brother work on the solos a lot. The one on The Power and the Glory of Love, I did that on my own here, but I sort of knew what I wanted it to do. I wanted to have a little bit of a sort of Eastern vibe. I wanted to sound like George Harrison if he was in Van Halen. That's what I was aiming for that. So
wow.
Sometimes I do have a little bit of an idea. There's one on Nobody Can See Me Cry, which I was definitely thinking of Slash. Like in having even the pickup choice, the pickup selector on the rhythm side of the Les Paul, like he does a lot more than I do anyway. I never really use that. Normally I put that pickup, I usually set it to silent, and then I use the selector as an on-off switch, so I can do all that, like Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello type thing, but on a Les Paul. And so it's unusual for me to use that pickup, but I did that because of Slash. I wanted to sound like Slash, because I thought Welcome to Glasgow could be a little bit like Welcome to the Jungle.
Right. Well, that's it. Yeah, and then the other side of that really is like, tone. I don't know if I'm using the right phrase here. Like tone does a lot for a riff too. Like it carries a lot of the weight sometimes, and not just a riff, but riffing. Like I talked about Speed of the Nighttime, which I do. I love that song. It's such a mood. Like I can feel driving at nighttime when I'm listening to that. But like the tone of that, it feels like what you're doing sounds like a very simple riff, but the way you've made it sound feels like it carries that to be so much more than it might be.
Yeah, you mean the riff's a bit shit, but the way we play it's good.
Not at all. I mean, it just feels like a simple riff, but suddenly, this sound that you add on to it just gives it so much more mileage. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's definitely like. I mean, I think that one is definitely. We wanted it to sound like it's something that the Mission or the Cult in a certain period of their career, or even Sisters of Mercy, something like that. It's just we just wanted it to sound like proper 80s goth rock. I've been listening to a lot of 80s goth rock, and it's really fun to sort of lean into the theatricality of it. But you don't get away with it unless you embrace the sonic signature of those songs from back then. There's a way of doing it with the guitars. I think it's the special Eventide thing that everybody was playing through in the 80s. You just got to make sure you got one of those when the guitar's going through it. There's a lot of acoustics and stuff in there as well. And obviously, I think part of it is the way the tempo changes abruptly. Because we don't use clicks, so it's all like when Rufus gets excited, it goes a bit faster, which is human and nice, and probably not. That probably doesn't sound as much like. I mean, in the 80s, I expect a lot of that stuff was on clicks, and some of it was probably programmed to early incarnations of MIDI stuff running. But we did it all natural because we're the Darkness.
You do 80s goth rock really well. If you want to lean into that a bit further, I'd be along for that ride as well.
I'd love to do a whole album like that. It'd be great.
Please.
It's superb.
From the stuff we haven't heard, there's bonus tracks for the deluxe edition as well. What can we expect?
So you haven't heard those ones then?
I haven't heard those. No, those get to still be a surprise to me.
Oh wow! Well, I think you're going to enjoy. There's one that's called "It's a Love Thing You Wouldn't Understand," which I think would make a great T-shirt, but we're probably not going to make T-shirts for B-sides or bonus tracks. Another one was called what's that? "You Don't Have to Be Crazy About Me, But It Helps."
All of the great titles, both of those.
Oh, they're really great. Basically, I was Todd Rundgren for the for the titles. But that's where the similarities end, unfortunately. There's a reason why they're bonus tracks, but they are interesting. There's one that I wrote called "So Long," which is that is the saddest song, not just on this album, but probably in the world. Didn't sit with the other stuff, but it is quite beautiful. I think the way Dan's produced it is great. But it ended up not sitting with the other stuff in terms of the emotional content of it. What else? I'm trying to think what the other tracks are. Oh my god, there's one called "The Age of Darkness," which is Dan's lead vocal. It really is something to behold. It's something.
That's a setup right there. It's something.
It's something. It really is. Nobody can deny that it's something when they hear it.
Absolutely.
But then the question is exactly what the fuck is that? Is the next question. But it made me laugh. Anyways, so there's four. I think there's three main. Oh yeah, they're all bonus tracks because we only did 9 on the vinyl. So 4 bonus tracks, and then there's one extra one for the Japanese edition, I think. It'd probably be an early version of Motorheart, if memory serves. We recorded it a few times to try and get the key and certain other parts of the arrangement correct.
That's cool. Yeah. No, I should say it's fun getting these deluxe editions. Again, when we were growing up, it was all about the B-side to me. When you were a fan of the band, like half the time you could argue like, oh, why wasn't that on the record, or something like that. But those gems and now they just kind of get shuffled at the end of a streaming thing for bonus tracks. But
yeah, and there's not as many of them as well. I remember when we did our first record, even we had 2 B-sides at least for every CD single that we did. So you're looking at maybe another whole album's worth of material by the time you get to the end of the campaign. Even we even did like extra tracks for the DVD singles. So like from the menu of the DVD single, you have to select a song that you don't get anywhere else. And these are all songs that we wrote with a view to put them on the record. They just didn't make it. So it's not like it's shit stuff. It's good songs. And then we saw. I mean, I think our career happened just as all that was stopping. Then you saw some bands that were doing like 18-track CDs, but you're looking at it thinking, I'm not interested in a good half of this, you know.
Right.
There's no, that's too long. An album should be 10 songs, I think. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, and then the other stuff should be the curiosities that really separate the hardcore from the passing interest.
Right. No, that's true. I mean, if the record was too long, I wouldn't like the songs. If those songs were B-sides that I had to hunt down, it could have been the same song, and I've been like, I love this song. You know, it's
There was even like bands that I didn't really get into that much. Like there's a band called Placebo. Remember Placebo?
Yeah, I know Placebo.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a B-side on one of their old singles. Maybe it's their big single, but they did a cover of Big Mouth Strikes Again. And but instead of Walkman, I think he's saying I River or one of those, like or Discman. I know he changed it, but he updated some of the things that Morrissey says and then changed them to more modern versions for when you know.
Right.
For when Joan of Arc was it? There's a flames rose to a Roman nose and her Discman started to melt or something. You know what I mean? Like he updated it. It was a really great version. So I even if you're not a massive fan, I do think that B-sides and curiosities are worth collecting.
Yeah. Now, similarly, I was listening to the Need You Tonight from INXS, the 45, and I never listened. I think I've had it for a little bit, but I don't remember ever listening to B-side, and it was, I don't know, I remember what the name of it is now, but it's just like this, he's like moaning and there's like sexual stuff happening all through it, and it's got this great like lo-fi funk groove, and like, yeah, this probably wouldn't have worked on the radio at all or on the album. I'm so happy I have it here. I love those moments. I do.
Yeah, that's great, aren't they?
Yeah. Back to Motorheart, finishing here anyway. It is such a fun record, and you continue to do that over and over. 20 years, right? I mean, we're only 2 years away from the I guess 20th anniversary or something like that. So well done.
It's in this country, it's legal for the first album to vote,
right?
Make love to whomever it chooses, and drink alcohol. So, boom.
What more can you ask for? That's true.
I'm just so proud of what they've become.
Justin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this new record again. I'm so much of a fan. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me. Cheers.
Yeah, anytime.